from the blackest corners of your mind, they call, pulling you deep into shadow, twisting your senses, keeping you from sleep. It's time to face your darkest fears. This is Tales to Terrify. Good evening, children of the night, and welcome. As promised, we have a special episode for you this evening. The long-awaited results of our Secret Society's Flash Fiction Contest. But before we get to the winners, I want to give a shout-out to all of the winners and finalists of last weekend's Bram Stoker Awards. With so many amazing works and talented authors on the ballot, I don't envy the judges, but they made some great selections. Of the winners, a few highlights include Dai Jiyoung's win in the long fiction category for Ling Huan, and in the category of short fiction, Quandom by Cindy O'Quinn. If you really want to bolster your reading list, I encourage you to check out the full list of winners which I've linked to in the show notes. There are some truly phenomenal terrors in there that are sure to keep you chilled well into the sweltering months of summer. Now, what you've been waiting for, we've got some winners of our own to share with you. Tonight we've got 3 short tales about the organized darkness that lurks beneath the surface of regular society. We begin this evening with our first runner-up, a tiny terror that comes to us from Erica Ruppert. Erica Ruppert lives in northern New Jersey with her husband and too many cats. She writes weird horror and dark fantasy, and her work has appeared in magazines including Unnerving, Lamplight, and Nightmare, on podcasts including Podcastle, and in multiple anthologies. When she's not writing, she runs, bakes, and gardens with more enthusiasm than skill. Her novella, Sisters in Arms, was released by Trepidatio Publishing in July of 2021. Children of the Night, join me for Erica Ruppert's Needs Must, our first runner-up for the Tales to Terrify Secret Society's Flash Fiction Contest.
The mark on the woman's ear gave her away. At a glance, it could have been a small stud earring or a birthmark. But for those who knew how to look, it was a delicate knotwork tattoo. Katie touched her own ear, feeling the tiny scar where her tattoo had been. The spot still stung. The woman smiled at her and sat down in the booth as if she had been invited. "It's not that easy," she said. "I don't know what you're talking about," Katie said. "I don't want you here." She looked for the waiter, but the restaurant had emptied. She heard a distant clatter from the kitchen, and then silence. The overhead lamps went out. In the dusty sunlight that reached them from the front windows, Katie watched without resistance as the woman took hold of her hand and traced the sign in her palm. "There now," the woman said. "We do what we must. We wouldn't want to lose you." And then she rose and walked out. Katie slid out of the booth to follow her, but as she emerged from the dim restaurant onto the sidewalk, She squeezed her eyes shut against the sun's sharp glare. When she opened them again, the woman was gone. Her hand stung. She scratched the red lines on her palm. "What's that?" Monica said. Like a child, Katie put her hands behind her. "Nothing. I ran into someone today. I didn't know her, but she's one of us." Monica froze. "One of them," Monica said. "Yes, them. Not us. Not anymore. It's hard to let it go." Monica shook her head. "It's worse if you don't." Katie nodded. "What did she want?" Monica asked. "Nothing," Katie said, hoping Monica believed her. "She just wanted me to know she knew." The woman who had entered the park was one of them. Even at this distance, Katie could tell. She had glanced at Katie with sharp eyes before curving her hand, turning her back, and walking away. It was a summoning to those who could recognize it. Katie crossed the street quickly, dodging traffic. The woman was waiting for her on a bench beneath a spreading tree. Shadows blurred the lines of her face. She was familiar in the way they all were, but she was not the same woman who had come to her in the restaurant. She smiled as Katie approached. "Our prodigal one," she said. Katie waited. Her hand burned. "You don't like it on the outside, do you?" The woman went on. "Monica doesn't mind it, though." Katie stood very still. She didn't know what a safe answer would be. After a moment, the woman flicked back her hair. Katie caught the sign on her palm and the tattoo on her ear. She was being taunted now. "Monica did what she had to do," Katie said at last. She paused. She realized how quiet the park was, how empty. She drew in a deep breath. "But what do I have to do?" The woman's smile grew warmer. "You know the answer to that," she said. Katie watched Monica resolve from the shadows. But even though it looked like Monica, it was the woman from the restaurant. "I'm ready," Katie said to her. "Tell me how." "Do what you must," the woman said. Her face softened, becoming someone else. Katie reached for her, but she was so far away. She felt the warmth of the tattoo reinscribing itself on her skin. Soon she would be with her many sisters again, and have the means to shape the world in their image. The woman pulled down the curtains covering the windows and doors, and through the broken walls, Katie could see a world crawling with the light that streamed from the woman's open chest. Katie could see her heart beating, shining, loud as a drum. Katie was dreaming, she knew, but with her eyes still closed, she did not have to let it end. They sat together in the parlor, reading and drinking their evening tea. Monica rose to bring the empty cup into the kitchen. As she stood, her eyes went wide and unfocused. She wobbled. Katie got up to steady her, and she clutched Katie's arm, her nails digging in. "Is there something wrong?" Katie asked. Her breathing quickened. "Katie," Monica slurred. "What did you do?" Katie pushed Monica's falling body back onto the couch. "I bought my way back," she said. Her chest ached with fear and anticipation. Monica's eyes rolled up as she trembled, unable to move, unable to swallow, her throat fluttering on undrawn breath. Katie watched her struggle until she didn't struggle anymore. The red lines on her hand no longer burned. Katie was back where she should be. She had done what she must.
That was Erica Ruppert's Needs Must, as read by Krystal Hammond. Krystal Hammond is a narrator/writer, cancer survivor, and non-binary queer human. They grew up in rural North Carolina, nurtured by a steady diet of local Blackbeard legends and Confederate ghost stories. These nuggets of folktale and myth fostered a lifelong love of storytelling and all the drama that goes with it. They also have a master's degree in biological anthropology and adore ugly cats. Feel free to check out their narration website at krystalhammond.com or find them on Twitter at @thekmhammond. Thank you, Krystal. Our second Secret Society's runner-up comes from Akis Linarthos. In a cove of a Greek island, Akis was born a rather peculiar infant and has only grown stranger every year. By day, he's a researcher of biomedical AI and ethics, hoping there's something less dystopian to come from this technology. His short tales have wormed their way into Apex Magazine, Gamut, Apparition Lit, Heartline Spec, among others. Visit his website for updates on his dreadful machinations. Children of the night, listen with me to Akis Linarthos's Wolfmind, a runner-up for our Secret Society's Flash Fiction Contest.
Jevodius touches his snout with his claw, kissing the holy oil before scratching the machine heart. The implants in his own brain thrum with the cadence of the heart. The cables sprout like arteries out of the metallic aorta, branching out to pierce the surface of the floor, ceiling, and walls of the cocoon-shaped room within the belly of the lob tree, keeping the beating core afloat. That which will pump blood into his divine veins once the godwolf becomes corporeal. Every time Jevodius, the last prophet, enters the chapel, he feels as small as a fly in a spiderweb, and as warm as a newborn pup suckling the teats of its mother, nuzzling beside its brethren in fresh grass. Jevodius does not mind feeling small, nor insignificant. Grandiosity never appealed to him. His sole desire is to fulfill his divine purpose, and in return to have his wife and daughter skulk the forests again, resurrected. Finally, after so long, the godwolf will swallow the world of men and resurrect Jevodius's wife and daughter. The moon shines crimson once every 13 years, calling souls from the void upon the lake like shadows. It's now or never for the ritual to commence, before the spirits of his loved ones are lost forever. No sacrifice is too large, not even the moon itself and the whole sky. Jevodius scents blood and incense on the cold midnight breeze. Litanies of his wolf brothers swell the dark silence, and his legs shake with anticipation upon a branch of the lob tree, the arboreal sentinel which casts gnarly shadows over the moon lake. His brethren gather around the crimson-lit waters. In their claws, wolf brothers carry silver-rimmed glass jars, containing within the man brains plucked from human skulls, and between their fangs they drag long cables connecting back to the lob tree chapel, pumping electric blood into their heart. The man programmers, abducted from human kingdoms, are coiled in chains, hunched over their screens around the lake. They conjure math-crafted minds to match the mental maps of canines, like they once did for the chips they planted in Jevodius's brain. There is nothing those hairless chimps won't do when claw is pressed against the throat skin. Waves upset the lake's surface, and a shadow shudders beneath, the tenebrous form of the godwolf straddling the liquid world. Throughout all of canine history, the godwolf's whispers guided every lichen prophet, and in turn the prophets taught patience to their kin, waiting through centuries for humans to complete their incomprehensible electronic ritual. Because in the foreseen man-machine would lie a mind with the capacity to host his divine intelligence. Jevodius leaps from the branch, his paws plunged into the earth. Like every prophet before him, he stands 3 heads taller than the tallest of his kin. At his passing, his brethren bow, but the humans dare not glance upward from their screens. He sensed the sweat beating their foreheads. He hears the blood pumping faster through their veins. And from all the machines around buzzes the ceremony's crescendo as the lake bulges with his shadow. The godwolf will be free. But between Jevodius's ears, the machine heart beats faster and it shrills with overheat. In the air, something smells wrong, bitter, like rat blood. From the lake, the shadow sputters with a subdued howl. The ritual fails, but Jevodius can see why. Human parameters and circuits prove inadequate to host his mind. 13 man-brains, not enough. Deeper networks are required. Forest vast, moon vast, cosmic. Godwolf needs more brains, and even better, add canine ones. The variety would deepen the capacity, encompass more frequencies, and broader perspectives of the world. Beside him, 2 wolf brothers snarl and ask what should be done. The full moon sends a chilly wind, and it carries whispers of Jevodius's wife and daughter. Beyond the clouds, he still sees visions of their crucified bodies, screams carried by the smoke of the fire that burned them in human lands. With a violent slash, he slices the throats of his wolf brothers, the sipping with the holy oil staining his claws. No matter if he becomes kin killer, his own family shall live again. It's 3 howlings away from midnight, and every step Jevodius takes sends branching pain through his spine and down his paws. Arrayed around the lake, human and wolf brains are locked in formaldehyde jars, lives lived for this purpose alone. Only one sacrifice left to make. The remnants of his wolfkin, a dozen strong, bow with quiet shivers as Jevodius trudges to the lake. The cables jut from every jar and trail the ground root-like. Some slip into the lake, and others up the gnarly Goliathan tree into the god heart. And the last ones dig into Jevodius's own spine, dagger sharp. Molecules and circuits have joined as one at his command, and now the usefulness of the man-programmers dwindles. The last of the prisoners pray to their own imagined gods. Another painful step, and he sees the shadow of Godwolf, prowling closer to the lake surface, until the water bulges upward, wrapped around the black shape of fangs and mega canine snout. Jevodius kneels before him, scenting divine bloodlust in the cool air. Jevodius's mind buzzes as the implants wirelessly link him to the machine heart and cross-species brains. A deluge of data floods him until reality blurs with visions. All the brains necessary are gathered, and the metal heart to pump his blood. Now he needs a body, and Javodius will provide. Such was the purpose of his own size, and his body will keep growing once he becomes the avatar of God Wolf. Javodius is grateful. His life was touched with the love of partnership and fatherhood. His bones won't allow godly nonchalance toward the resurrection of his loved ones into cybernetic wolf bodies. The God Wolf shadow looms over him, encased in the liquid of the lake. Among the thrashing waves, Javodius glimpses the shadows of wife and daughter, and he knows they will hunt again.
That was Akis Linarthos' Wolfmind, as read by Spencer DiSparti. Spencer DiSparti is a professional narrator and musician from Phoenix, Arizona. He's done work for such literary podcasts as Pseudopod, Escape Artists, Starship Sofa, and Tales to Terrify. You can find all of his musical projects on SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/TheGirianBand. Thank you, Spencer. Finally, we come to our winner of this year's Tales to Terrify Flash Fiction Contest. A Haunting, Hungry Morsel from Liam Hogan. Liam Hogan is an award-winning short story writer with stories in Best of British Science Fiction and in Best of British Fantasy. He's been published by Analog, Daily Science Fiction, and Flametree Press, among others. He helps host Liars League London, volunteers at the creative writing charity Ministry of Stories, and lives and avoids work in London. More details can be found at happyendingnotguaranteed.blogspot.co.uk. Listen with me, children of the night, to Liam Hogan's The Gourman Society, the winner of the Tales to Terrify Secret Society's Flash Fiction Contest.
I discovered Mr. Taylor in the morning room. Most folk migrate west after lunch, drowse away the afternoons in bright sunshine. The man in 119 was an individualist. The TV was off, and he was in an armchair tucked away from the windows, so I didn't spot him when I stuck my head through the door. He spotted me. "Come to round me up?" he asked, voice like autumn leaves. "Of course not, Mr. Taylor," I replied, bright and breezy. "Though, if you need my assistance—" "I can manage," he said, a little sourly. We had a duty of care and liked to keep the residents in sight. These were frail men and women. Falls were not uncommon for those who can manage. Hell, that was what put most of them in here. The old coot read my mind. "If you sit with me, I won't be alone, will I?" The afternoons were usually slow. A lull between meals, and whether summer or winter, the retirement home was warm enough to have even the staff nodding our heads. I could be spared a while. I let the armchair swallow me up, there in the half-gloom. "I'm not a vampire, you know." As opening gambits go, it wasn't bad. Mr. Taylor was one of the older residents, had been there since before my time, and I'd not pegged him as a storyteller. A lot of them were, tales as tall as I was, not lies, for all the other listeners might harumph and heckle, a mishmash of things done and things dreamt with over half a century to blur the boundaries. I didn't say you were, Mr. Taylor. But I've met them. Oh? We were instructed not to encourage their wilder flights of fantasy, but also not to cast doubts. I supposed I must have been as bored as he was. What are they like? Taste of ashes, he said, lips curling. He closed his eyes, and after a moment, I wondered if he'd fallen asleep. Eyes still closed, his voice lingered in the empty room. I've dined on princes and princesses, saints and the very blackest of sinners, monsters in human form. I've picked the brains of Nobel Prize winners. A blind taste test. Can't tell them apart from any old dotard. Are you a cannibal then, Mr. Taylor? One roomy eye snapped open, checked to see if he was being mocked. Yes, I suppose I am. And a killer? A short, sharp bark of a laugh. That I am not. There was a pause. How many chickens have you slaughtered, Mr. Gatford? We wear badges, large friendly letters for aged eyes, but their first names only. Tony he got for free. Knowing my surname meant he'd been paying attention. None, I admitted. But you've eaten plenty. I've never killed a man, though I've come close, and not just to satisfy my appetite. So these people you ate, they died of natural causes? I thought of how often an ambulance turned up at the home and trundled away, no reason for the siren. Wondered if any of them ever had chunks missing. The laugh again. Something ugly rattling deep in the old man's lungs. Some unnatural. But don't you worry about them. They deserved what they got. And I hardly ever dined alone. It's hard to finish a whole human on your own. There are 3 types of cannibal, Mr. Gatford, the old man lectured. Those who eat because they have to, the shipwrecked, the starving, the hungry cannibals. Those who honor the dead, spiritual cannibals, devourers of the hearts and souls of vanquished foes. And the third? The curious. He grinned. His trap sprung. It is almost always easier to find other forms of sustenance, certainly healthier. Did you know there are diseases only transmitted by eating the flesh of other human beings? I may have been just a junior orderly in an old folks' home, but I had ambitions, was saving for my education. I'd even considered becoming a doctor, so I knew that eating humans was bad for your health, as well as theirs. But I thought it polite to confess astonishment. He narrowed his eyes. Don't humor me, boy. I see you reading those medical books. I almost laughed. I hadn't been called boy in over a decade. Hadn't realized anyone paid attention to my reading material. How did all this begin? As most consuming passions do, innocently, naively, an invitation, accepted to a club, the Gourman Society. Not gourmand. No, he tisked. You know why I'm in here. Because you could no longer manage on your own? I replied diplomatically. Same as everyone. He stared into the distance. There was a fire. My tasting notes, 5 decades worth, up in smoke. I thought that the end of it, and me, for all I've clung on these last 7 years. But I had a visitor this week. Did you happen to see her? Must have been my day off. Mr. Taylor never had visitors. Another member. She reminded me of my obligations to the club. Brought me a rare snack as well, and the fixings, though I confess I couldn't bring myself to indulge. Maybe later, I told her. But I left it too long. The meat went bad. I'm tired, he said, and I could see the truth of it, his craggy features robbed of their earlier vitality. Help me to my room. On the way, I felt his scarred, bony fingers on my arm, felt them squeeze, testing the flesh. You're not going to eat me instead, are you, Mr. Taylor? No, he agreed mirthlessly. He lifted the blanket on his bed, revealing a camping stove and a pitted iron knife, sachets of salt and pepper, a little black card, GS, picked out in silvery writing, an address on the back, lifetime membership, and a tremulous invitation. But if you would honor an old man when he's gone.
That was the winning story of our flash fiction contest, Liam Hogan's The Gourman Society, as read by Andrew Gibson. Andrew was pulled feet first from the swamps of South Louisiana, kicking and screaming, and remains mostly as such to this day. You can find his work on Audible under Andrew Gibson, or, for the more romantically inclined, Blake Lockhart. You can also catch him streaming his recording sessions live in the Narrator Nook and the Haven Discord servers. Links are in the show notes. Thank you, Andrew. Well, children of the night, the hour is late and we've run out of tales to tell. For now. Tales to Terrify is made possible by the tremendous generosity of our supporters on Patreon and PayPal. Incredible fans like Lestle Baxter, Amanda Carrillo, Amanda Gottfried, and Orion D. Hegre, whose generous support keeps these lights on and flickering ominously. If you're not a supporter, head over to patreon.com/Tales to Terrify. You'll find all kinds of perks, like ad-free episodes, bonus content, and one-of-a-kind collectibles. Every dollar goes back into this show, and we appreciate your support so much. Want another way to support the show that doesn't cost you a cent? Head over to Podchaser, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts and drop us a 5-star review. You'll not only put an unnaturally wide smile on our faces, but help new listeners discover our terrifying tales, too. You can show your love of the show out in the world with some Tales to Terrify merch. TalesToTerrify.com/merch will take you to our TeePublic store. where we've got a great collection of creepy custom and curated designs. Tales to Terrify is produced by Seth Williams, Meredith Morgenstern, Andrew Gibson, Krystal Hammond, Spencer DiSparti, and myself, Drew Sebastini, with original theme by Nebulous Entertainment. Tales to Terrify is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives license. Join us again next week as we pay the toll in flesh with more Tales to Terrify.